It was actually supposed to be recording from the beginning, but I forgot to automatically set it. So,
It's
um,
okay.
yeah. So, yes, again, welcome everyone to our social hour. On the screen, you should see our welcome to social hour backdrop. Please do scan the QR code for different opportunities here at MDC. It gives you information about our student support services, our scholarships, our MDC Works, which is our career services. So we help you with getting ready for internships. We can't just give you an internship, but we can definitely help you make yourself more marketable for the industry. Okay. And other tips as well, you will find in that link tree. So I'm waiting right now for more people to join. We usually wait about 5 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is go over a couple of upcoming events, and I'm going to put them in the chat. And I highly recommend that you guys do check them out and register for them. So the first thing that I am dropping in the chat is, if I can find it. So the first thing that I just dropped in the chat is actually my tech and innovation calendar. So this is a calendar that I use to post all of our social hours. I have 2 social hours on there that I do not yet have assets or marketing materials for, but if you click on my calendar, you will see those events already there. They're really empty, but I do recommend right now, I will fill them in, but I do recommend that you start registering for those events from now. There are going to be 2 AI-based events. On April 2nd, we have an event about enhancing your work and your education utilizing AI, and we're going to have an employee and a student perspective, and they're going to be sharing this space and kind of going back and forth. And I think that's going to be really cool because a lot of us might be students, but a lot of us might also be already working. And so we're going to give you 2 perspectives of different AI tools and different things that you can utilize in order to enhance your experience. And then on the 16th, we're going to have our wonderful Professor Gabb, who actually just joined. Hi, Professor Gabb. And our Professor Rodolfo Cruz, both wonderful MDC professors here who are going to actually go over the art of prompt engineering with you. And it's going to be an interactive session. So when you guys come in and the people that you share it with, we're going to be hoping that you will also be able to share what prompt engineering is to you and what are the tools and the strategies that you use in order to make this more effective for you. Yes, I can definitely start a meeting summary for you guys. So all of these sessions are from this point forward going to be recorded, and we're going to be posting them up. I mentioned this last time, we don't have a set platform right now, not yet. But we are working on something where you guys can kind of go in like a hub and get all of our social hour videos, resources, connections with the people, etc. So yes, please do subscribe to my calendar and start registering for those upcoming events. The other thing that I wanted to share with you guys is on April 12th, there's actually going to be a hackathon at Wolfson campus, so I'm also dropping that in the chat. And then lastly, because we're already at 12:05 now and I love to just talk so much, I'm also putting that Amazon has actually started recently doing their fulfillment center in-person tours again. So you can actually go in to Amazon and take a tour of their fulfillment centers, see the different robotics that they use, the different AI that they use, get more familiar. Like if you're into like AWS or whatever it is, Amazon is doing these tours. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you guys to get in on. I am actually going to reach out to some of our professors as well to see if we can organize maybe some groups. And I think if any of you are taking any of our MDC courses, highly recommend that you send this link to your professor and you let your professor know that Amazon is doing this so that way you can be able to utilize that, with your class if your professor is interested in it. So these are just some really cool different opportunities. And again, welcome to all of you guys. I think we have a pretty good crowd and we're definitely expecting some more people. So in the meantime, we're going to do a 10-minute breakout session. Now, inside of these breakout sessions, I recommend that you guys do have a chat with each other. Share your LinkedIns. Last time, everyone did an amazing job at sharing their LinkedIns with each other. So highly recommend that you do that again today. You share your LinkedIns with each other. Lastly, in the chat, the last thing that I dropped in the chat is that we actually do have a LinkedIn group for our social hour initiative, and we're working on making it more active. It's still really, really new, so there isn't too much in it. But I highly recommend that you join our LinkedIn group, our social hour LinkedIn group that's in the chat. So just from the top of the chat to where we're at now, please do click all those links. Register for those events and join the groups. And we're going to go ahead and break out into our breakout rooms. And we will come back in and we will have a wonderful, engaging presentation from Professor Gabb. All right. So just give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and assign the rooms, the networking rooms, and you guys will be in there for just about 10 minutes. All right, so you guys have been assigned to rooms. Just go ahead and join your rooms. Enjoy your networking session. It's going to be 10 minutes long. Please do get to know each other, share your LinkedIn's, etc. And we'll be back in this room by roughly 12:20 for Professor Gabb to start presenting. Thanks.
Sada,
Yep.
hey, it's Adam.
Hi.
Um, for the fulfillment tour, how do we sign up to go?
So I dropped the link in the chat. All you got to do is click on their calendar and you can sign up through their website. But I do recommend also, like I mentioned, providing it to your professors to see, or even like at Wolfson or whatever, like at the AI Center, anyone that you know, to see if you might be able to kind of facilitate some type of group going, because I think that would be a more enjoyable experience than going individually.
Yeah, I'm actually at Wolfson right now.
Okay,
I just left the bookstore. I'm heading back to the AI Center, and I have
nice.
class tonight, so I could definitely bring it up in both of those situations,
Okay.
and that way further propagate. Um, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adam, like if any of your professors are actually like really interested in this, you can actually connect them with me because I can also try to help coordinate and facilitate a group to go. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I got a couple of people in mind, so I'll bring it up to them.
Uh-huh.
And then I will loop you in, and then we'll go from there.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
I should probably get in a room.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
I think I kind of made it like where you get a little thing that says that it's letting you know that you're supposed to join. We don't usually do it that way. Sam usually does it and she's better at Zoom than I am.
Yeah,
Um, but
I
I can definitely put you in a room right now.
so I saw that, but then I was in the process of clicking on all of your links, so I
Oh,
think I
Yeah.
okay.
might have
Yeah,
bypassed
no
it by
for
mistake.
no for Adam. But
Yeah, and
you're
Um,
actually
Natasha,
not
can you help
even.
me move people into different rooms as well?
Yeah, and that's what
I
I'm
need a
doing.
Zoom 101 course,
That's what
guys.
I'm doing right now. So
all
Thank
right.
you.
So the links that you gave us will still be there when we get back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
All right,
yeah.
cool.
There. Adam, you should be in room 2 actually. I'm not sure if you can see it actually. Uh, okay, there you go. Okay, that worked out. Yay. Wait, hold up. Mm, sorry, so there's still students coming in, so bear with me 1 second.
Oh, these are people that are like joining as we go. Wow, that's great. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Okay.
That's fine.
So
Don't worry. Just whatever you need to do, just you can just move people around. That's totally fine.
yeah, I just want to
But
try.
if they're already in a room, like, don't
Mhm.
move them from that room, just move them from the waiting room. Unless it
Yes.
says not joined.
Yeah, because there are some students right now that are still here, but I'm
Gotcha.
not able to move them for some reason.
So if you guys got an invitation to a networking room, please do join it. Go in there, chat with your colleagues, and then I'll be closing all the breakout rooms at 12:20. Okay? And we'll be starting at that point. Well, room 2 is looking good.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to be closing the networking breakout room in just 2 minutes. So those of you who did not join a networking breakout room, that's fine. You can just like hold on for a couple minutes and then we'll be getting started. All right, I'm going to be closing the breakout room in just 1 minute, or less. I see Professor Gabb has joined us back, so I'm going to go ahead and just let them know I'm going to close the breakout rooms.
Oh yeah, I came out to check. I was like, I saw the invitation. I was like, maybe you wanted to talk to me in private. After 10 minutes. So
Yeah, I guess I need Sam.
uh
All right, so we have a pretty good crowd. I just informed them in the rooms I'm going to be closing the rooms. So as soon as it hits like 12:19, I'll go ahead and I'll close the rooms. And then I'm just going to give a couple of housekeeping, housekeeping rules, I guess. And then Professor Gab will go ahead and get started. So there was something, one sec. Yeah. All right, I'm going to close all the rooms. Close all the rooms. And all right, welcome back everyone. So I know the rooms are all closing, and you guys are hopping back into the main room right now. So again, for those of you that missed the intro part of the session, I just want to say welcome to our social hour, and thank you for being here with us today. So today's session is going to be going over the entrepreneurial mindset in a digital age, a la Professor Gabb. And I think it's an amazing presentation. I got little snippets of it, a little sneak peek of it, and I'm really excited for today's session. Before Professor Gabb does start, I have a couple of just announcements to make for you guys. So we have a really amazing crowd in the room today, and I just want to say thank you guys again for all being here. I am going to ask that everyone please just keep themselves muted during the presentation. And if you do have a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat, or just raise your hand and we can go from there. But the preferred method would be drop it in the chat, and then I'll be moderating the chat and giving the questions over to Professor Gabb so we can keep things running smoothly. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. Again, these sessions are being recorded, and we are working on putting them on a platform for you guys to be able to access them. Oh, and then also lastly, one last thing, we will have Maya Butler from the Last Mile Foundation joining us at 1 o'clock. She will have a breakout room to give you guys personalized assistance on the scholarship that was posted with this. It's called the Microsoft Cybersecurity Scholarship Program. program, and it is basically it is for students who are in cybersecurity or cybersecurity adjacent. So if you're in AI, IT, et cetera, you may qualify. It's important though that you do follow the tips that she gives you. If you did not receive follow-up emails or anything like that, you can always feel free to reach out to me and I can help be the liaison for you. The deadline is March 28th, so utilize this session as much as you can and all the time from now till then. All right, so I'm done because if I don't stop, I'll have a million other announcements for you guys. So I'll stop there and go ahead, Professor Gabb. Thank you so much for presenting for us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Swala. And please, as you have the questions, feel free to interrupt at any moment. I tend to just keep talking. So good morning, everyone. Good
Me too.
afternoon, everyone. And I do live up to my name, Gabb. I do have the gift of gab. So interrupt. Okay. Welcome everyone, and I just thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us. The objective of this session is to share with everyone a particular mindset of how to view and look at working with technology in basically your everyday life and your individual lives, and how to use it effectively to to prosper, to be abundant. These are ideas. All these ideas are not mine. These are things that I've collected throughout my years here on Earth, and so these are from very wise people, and I kind of try to distill these things into my own perspective, and that's what I'm here to share with you today. So today, you cannot share while other participants is sharing. So can I share my screen there? Thank you. So let me try and share my screen. All right. And it would be this one. And, all right. So guys can see that. So we're talking about an entrepreneurial mindset. And so to do that, I quickly looked up a couple of different definitions, and here are a few of them, and to look at it. So we're looking at from an opportunity-driven perspective, a growth-oriented perspective, and value creation perspective, right? And if you look at each of these definitions, you're looking about value, right? You'll see that value is repeated throughout them and indicated through there. So the intention is, one of the most important thing is being able to identify what is value. And value have lots of different meaning for folks, right? But to give you a perspective on value, from my perspective on value, I'm just going to ask everyone, right? To just raise your hand in there, and Sada, if you could just let me know, like comparatively, how many people have their hands up. I'd appreciate it. So raise your hands in there, right? The little icon there, the emoticon. If you pick up a penny when you see it on the ground. How many of you guys pick up a penny when you see it on the ground? Right?
We only have two right now, three, four,
Right?
oh, five
Out of how many people there? We have how
out
many?
of almost 60.
Out of almost 60, right? So there you go, right? So I have another question. How many of you guys make well, first of all, again, everybody, so put your hands down, raise your hands if, right, you currently work. You have a job, part-time, full-time, does not matter. Put your hands up. Hopefully there's a lot of hands out there, right? So there should be the majority of folks out there, right? Is that good? Now, for all of those folks that have their hands up that work, if you make more than $12 an hour, keep your hand up. If you make $12 or less, take your hands down. If you now, how did that change? We had a few people leave. How about this? If you make more, now I'm changing, right? If you make more than 20 $20 an hour, keep your hand up. How does it look now? So, because I can't see it because it's
It's about the same.
about the same. How many
Yeah.
people if make more than $30 an hour? Keep your hand up.
Well, it's less.
Oh, a lot less now, right? Okay, so I'm going to ask you, if you see a penny on the ground and you pick it up, how much do you earn an hour? And you can type in an answer in the chat. If you pick up a penny, how much do you make an hour? Let's see some answers in the chat.
1 cent
1 cent. Okay. Anyone else? How much do you make an hour if you pick up?
or your hourly rate plus 1 cent.
Ironically, yesterday, right? Okay, I got the chat up good. Okay. So technically, like how long does it take for you to pick up a penny? What's the approximate time? And you can type it out in the chat. Feel free to type in the chat. How long does it take you to pick up a penny? Approximately.
A few
Two
seconds.
seconds. 2 seconds. Anyone else? I timed it. It took me a second, right? I just stoop down, pick it, and come up, right? If you're taking 3 seconds to pick up a penny, maybe it's the nails, right? Your fingernails. But you can pick up a penny in a second, okay? So if you pick up a penny a second, how much is that per hour?
60.
Well, it would be
$36.
$36. That's correct. That's correct. $36. If you pick up a penny, you are earning $36 an hour at that moment. That's value. Think about how many of you make more than that per hour, right? So when we look at things, we have to look at the value. And we tend to not look at the value. We tend to not look at, we look at value as how much things we have, right? As to look at its core value. And so that's one of the most important things for us to recognize is value. And so with that said, I'm going to take a look here on the next thing is luck favors the prepared, right? So we're making, if you pick up that penny and if you see a dime, you're making $360 an hour, right? Now, the pushback that I usually get from students when I talk to them about this is that, well, but professor, I'm not picking up, 3,600 pennies any one time. I'm picking up one penny at a time. And I say to that as when you think about it, when you look at, big sports stars, right? Jordan and LeBron and all of these guys, they have these huge salaries and making these millions and millions of dollars, right, per year. They're not playing every moment of that year, right? They're earning based on that time that they're putting in. So, value that. And I will share one last thing on the penny stuff. I remember one time I was going into Publix and in the parking lot, and I pulled up, and as I came out, right next to my car, there was this huge pennies, right? And I just started picking them up. Okay. And I picked them up. I counted over like it was like 38 or 39 cents that I picked up all at once, right? Just all these pennies. And I said, oh, I can't walk past this and not pick them up. And after I teach my students all about that, right? So value, take a look at it. Now, here's the other question. How many of you guys um, would like to say retire and retire with $1 million? Right? Me too, right? I would love to do it. Now, my question is, how do you know how to do that? Or what is, how would you get to that spot, right? So for that, again, now we're going to take a look at technology and how we use the technology to help us. So remember, when we're looking here in these definitions, oops, in the definition, we talk about value, but then we're talking about adaptability, resilience, problem solving, right? Leveraging creative and resourcefulness, right? These are the things from an entrepreneurial mindset. These are the things that entrepreneurs, right, are utilizing in order to guide how they work, how they live. And so this is what we need to do, and we bring that. So in this technology age, we have access to tremendous amount of information and tools that are available to us. So just again, this is all about value, right? So we're going to take a look at value and say, if I wanted to retire a millionaire, what would I do to retire a millionaire? Now, this is one of those things that I do with my students in CGS 1060. I bring them to my investment planner and I bring them and I ask them these same questions. And I said, if you want to retire a millionaire, what do you need to do? So here, it's very simple. Investment, and you look at it, you're looking at compound interest and how you would utilize that. So let's say, for example, I start out at age 18 and I'm getting an annual return rate of 8%, right? Now, the rule of thumb, and this is mathematically known, is that if you earn 7.5%, right, every 10 years, you would duplicate your value. So if you're investing $100 and at 7.5% after 10 years, you're going to have $200, right? And if you have $200 and you invest at 7.5% in 10 years, you're going to have $400, et cetera, and et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to be doubling your money. So here, I'm just going to put in an 8% return rate. And I'm going to say I'm going to do that $3,600 a year that I'm going to save. Now, $3,600 a year is what? $10 a day, right? So that's like 365 days a year. So rounded off, it's roughly $10 per day. And then here now, look at the number of years that I'm putting in for contribution. I'm only putting in 10 years. So I'm looking at starting at age 18, right? And I'm only going to put away $3,600 for 10 years. So totally, I'm only saving $36,000, okay? But I'm doing it in an investment that gets an annual return rate of 8%. If I do that, my target amount is $1 million, and you will see that I'm calculating my return rate, right? So at age 18, I put away my 3,600. This is the interest I earn in it. I get this amount at the end of that year. The next year, I put in another 3,600. I'm earning another $288 on this 3,600. I'm getting $311 off of this amount. And so by the end of that second year there, I'm going to have $8,000 and on and on and on. And so if you look at this and you go down by age 65, right? Whoops, too much. By age 65, I'm going to have $1 million put away, right? So look at that. So if you start at age 18, right? At 8% interest, then you do it. Now, the thing is, everybody used to say, well, where am I going to get 8% interest in my investments? Well, simple things, right? Long-term investments is basically, and again, this is not investment advice, okay? This is just understanding the mathematics behind it and using technology. I'm using Excel right here to solve this problem, right? I learned this when I was in my 40s. I wish I understood this when I was 18 years old, okay? But after 10 years of investment, by the time I'm 27, that's it. I put in $3,600. I do not have to save another dime for the rest of my life. And if I can go and find that. Now, you find these types of investment, everybody's looking and talk about investment, talk about stocks. But most retirement accounts are going to have are dealing with mutual funds. And when you look at mutual funds, you can find a 15-year, if you find a 15-year mutual fund or a 10-year mutual fund, and you look at what the return is on 10 years of investment, if it's 8% or more, you're making 8% a year, right? Because it's over that period of time. So retirement is a long-term type thinking. So when you start thinking about that long term, you can find 8% return rates even in bad times, right? You're going to find that. And so you can actually set yourself up to be that. So now what I did with this is to demonstrate for my 1060 students how to use Excel and to do that. So one of the things with Excel is, you can do goal seek. So the goal seek is I'm going to work backwards, right? So you don't have to do the calculations. You can work backwards. So I'm going to say I want to reach my target not at age 55. I want to have the $1 million. And so I wanted to follow it. And how much do I need to save per year if I'm going to do that? So now I can run that check, and it will do for me then for 10 years. If I'm starting at 18, right, I would have to put away $7,400 a year, right, for those 10 years. And that's all I would have to put away. So in this case, I'm putting away, a total of $74,000, right, over those 10 years. And by age 55, whoops, again, slow here, slow this down. At age 55, I would have my $1 million, right? So you can now use this tool. By the way, I'll share this tool out with Swada. So if you guys want this, you can play around with it, right? Let's say you don't want to do 10 years. Maybe you say, okay, I can't do 7,000. Let's do it then over a 20-year period. And then you run the check again. And it will now say, oh, okay, then you would do 5,000, right? And now if you start at age 18, for 20 years, by the time you reach age 37, you don't need to put away another dollar, right? It will multiply out based on that by age 55, right? So as you can see, that you can play around with this to find out your particular circumstance to see, all right, how much do I need to save? Because here's the thing about abundance, and here's the thing about financial security and money. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. So you have to save. You must save. If you're not saving, then you're never going to grow well. You're never going to have that financial security. And I know it's very, very difficult. It's extremely difficult to put away anything in today's environment. But make it a habit, right? Make it a habit to start doing that, because as you can see, that's the only way that you're gonna grow that way, right? So the idea here is, in terms of an entrepreneurial mindset, is growing your net worth, growing your value, right? And so you got to recognize that value, even if it's a penny on the ground. So you got to know how to recognize it. Once you recognize that value, now you're going to start taking that value and being able to manipulate it, being able to share it, right? So this is that one thing on an investment planner perspective. The next thing is I want to share with you guys is, how many of you here actually own a home? How many of you guys have a mortgage? If you don't have a mortgage per se, how about your parents? Right? So this in 1060, I always tell this to my students, okay, here you go, you're going to have this one course. So I always tell my students that CGS 1060 class, that Intro to Microcomputers class, one of the most valuable classes, most underrated class. We overlook it so quickly, right? But only because we don't have that entrepreneurship mindset, right? So in that 1060 class, you are going to get skills that you can apply immediately to increase your value, right? So take this. I said, so this class pays for itself immediately. So here's what is an amortization schedule, right? This is how you get loans. All right. So when you go and you're going to get a loan, right? If you're going to buy a house or if you're going to buy a car, those are the two most expensive bills you're going to have. You will have to have a loan schedule, and that's called an amortization schedule. Now, this is very straightforward. I just want to show to create this in Excel. You don't need to know how to build this, okay? Um, as an individual, as a person learning these things, I went and I learned how to calculate these. Okay, that's part of what my training was all about. But think about this, right? You don't need to know how to build this spreadsheet. You could go to File, New, and you can search for amortization, right? But if you don't know amortization, you're not going to find it there, right? So there's these key things in business that you're going to have to start paying attention to, right? So one of the other things that I tell folks is you got to start thinking about living as a corporation, right? We always hear, and we hear it all the time in the news about, corporations and corporations doing this and taking advantage of that, and they get all these rules and they get all these advantages, etc. And and we look at them and say, okay, that's unfair or whatever, and all of those things are there. Okay, those are all true. But what is true is that business is about corporations, and there's various forms of it. So you're going to want to look at that and say, wait a minute, I can also live as a corporation, right? You can operate as a corporation. There's lots of rules and stuff like that. So you got to start thinking, how do I live as a corporation? All right. So here's this one example, right? So I click the amortization schedule and it's going to create it. And there it is. It created the amortization schedule. I'm showing this to you because you all have access to Excel and you might want to go play with it. But when you do that amortization schedule, you will see that it stops right here. If you come at the bottom right and you click on here, okay, it should actually, let me put this in. Let's see here. $250,000. So I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to get a loan for $250,000. In today's environment, we're looking at what? 7% interest. And we're going to say a loan period of 30 years, right? And we're going to say the number of payments per year is 12. We pay our mortgage once a month. And we're going to have no extra payments. And it does the calculations for me. Now, when it does this, you'll see it stops here. But that's not the end of it, right? So you're going to scroll down. And there it is now, right? Once you put in the information, you can go here, click and drag all the way down. I'll just stop it there. And you have to go past 373 because it's with 30 years times 30 times 12 is 360, right? But now you'll notice at the bottom now that the balance hits 0. So now I have all my calculations in there. So you'll notice that if I go and I purchase a home and I get a mortgage for $250,000 at 7% interest for 30 years, I'm going to be paying $348,000 in interest alone for my home. So when you add these two things up, equals that 250 plus this 348, you're looking at almost $600,000 that you're actually paying for your house. So if your home is not going to be worth $598,000 in 30 years, then you would have lost money buying your home, right? So you say, well, okay, what can I do? Well, there's lots of different techniques for this, right? But I'm going to ask you, and this comes back to the business part, right? So in business, everything is by contract. So you get to negotiate contracts, no matter what anybody tells you. That's the way it works, right? In anything, you enter into a contract. Even when you go to your employer and somebody hires you, it's a contract. It's an employment contract. So, and you have the ability to negotiate that. And you have the ability to walk away if you don't like those terms. Now, businesses usually have an advantage because you need their services and all of that. And that's why monopolies are, frowned upon, because then there's no competition, and you can't, your power to negotiate is totally diminished, right? So here you can negotiate, say, listen, I want to pay my mortgage not not once a month, but twice a month, right? So notice here how much I'm paying per month. $1,663,000, right? That's how much a month I'm paying. Now, if I paid twice a month, then I would be making two payments, which would be 24 payments per year, right? Well, the reality is that you'll be paying 26 payments because it's 52, weeks per year divided by 2 is 26. But we'll put it in as 24 anyway, right? So because if you do 26, it's going to be even less. So I'm going to put 24, and look what happens now. I'm paying $831 each payment. So I'm still paying that times 2. 831 times 2 is 1660, right? I'm not paying anything more per month for my mortgage. I'm still paying the same monthly bill. But look at how much interest I now pay over that 30 years. $260,000. So if I add that, right? So let me go back here. So let me write this in here. This is 260, right? 778, that 38, right? And let me put it back to 12 so we can see the difference. All right, 348. So if I do that, I say equals that, subtract from that, I'm saving $87,000 just by paying my bill twice a month instead of once a month. And you say, but wait, professor, how twice a month, I can't pull that off. I get my check once. That is we have automatic, deduction and all of that. So all you got to do is what? Plan your payments and your bills, and schedule it accordingly. And you don't even have to worry about it. It just keeps getting deducted at the appropriate time. So you don't even have to manage that anymore, right? So that's one way of doing it. Now, the other way of doing it is they say put in an extra payment, right? So let's say that I'm going to put in an extra payment, right, of say $100 per month extra, right? Or, well, it would have to be $50 because it's going to be every session here, right? So if I do $100 per month extra, now look at the difference, okay? On here, I go to 311, right? So again, let's do this, okay? Yes, I can. I will share all of that here with you guys. That's not a problem, right? So again, this is, let me take that out, delete. And so we're looking at 348 at this point, right? Again, this now is 348,772 and 25, right? And if I now do that $50 a month extra, right? Now I'm paying 311. So if I say equals this, actually, yeah, that, no, equals this amount minus that amount, right? Did I do it? No. Yeah. That minus this, right? That's another $37,000 right there, right? Paying that extra month. So even if, so now if I do this with, well, let me take off all these extra ones. And we're looking at 348. And now if I put in the 50, and I do it at twice a month, 241. So if I do equals 348 minus 241, that's $107,000 that you save in interest alone. by paying that just a little bit extra, right? So these are things that you got to think about. And why is that? Because when you do and you pay money, you're paying interest. You're paying interest for the entire amount. So you'll take a look at, you'll see that in here, the principal, you're only going a little bit towards the principal and most towards the interest. And then at one point, then it will flip. So the idea by doing this is that you're paying more principal, simple by doing it twice per month, right? Or if you pay that extra payment, it goes towards your principal. So that's one thing, okay? So that's the other thing there. Now, the third one that I'm going to share with you, and this now takes us into working as doing as a business. So a lot of people like to talk about real estate investments and stuff like that, etc. So if you're operating as a business, this is one of the things. So how many, you guys are all here at school, you're going to school, correct? And if you're not getting, even if you're getting financial aid, you might still have to put money out of your pocket, right? And then there's folks that have to pay things completely out of pocket because they don't qualify for financial aid. So, and that is money out of your pocket that you got to come up with. So if you think about it, right? If you work and if you live as a corporation, okay, one of those things is that as for corporations, and let's say you create your own little corporation and it's just you and your family, it's you own it, and you say, okay, for my corporation, I'm going to pass a rule, right, that everybody, that we pay education for everyone. So we provide educational payments, we pay for your education. So companies do that, right? The college, if you work here at the college, you can take your classes, for free. If you work for, any company, some banks, whatever, you take a class, you could go back and get reimbursed. And different companies do it at different rates. Well, guess what? If you are living yourself personally as a corporation and you pass that rule for your corporation that all employees, now it has to apply to everybody, right? If all employees, the corporation pays for your education, now that all of a sudden now becomes a deductible expense out of your corporation. So now you can actually reduce the cost of you going to school simply by living that way. Okay, so these are, when you think about it, right, you want to keep that mindset. This is the entrepreneurial mindset, right? You want to be living as a corporation. Now, there's lots and lots of different ways to do that. And of course, as you're going to get and do that more and more, you're going to have more specialized skills, etc., that you're going to need. But let's put that to the side and this again, take a look at this Excel spreadsheet here. People always start to say, oh, if I run the numbers in a business, right? If I'm going to buy a house, right? And I'm going to do it for investment or whatever, how to do that. And here, just again, this little application, have all the different fees and stuff like that that you could put in here. If you're getting a house for $150,000, right, and you're paying it for it cash, right? And so the interest rate doesn't really matter. It's not going to get calculated, whatever. In there, you're putting in there, we're going to do this for a 10-year investment. So you can carry, this is what they call about, I'm going to run the numbers. And so if you do that, you can see that it calculates for you. It tells you how much in here you earn. Cash flow is negative because this is how much you pay out the first time, right? This is how much you're paying. And then from there, you're looking at then the income. And we're only doing it for 10 years. So then in 10 years, we can see where we have our cash flow. Total cash flow is negative. However, the profit that you've made is $163,000, right? But it's not in cash, it's in equity, right? It's in the value of the property. So these are things now that you got to think about as equity, right? Value that you have. So you have value that you have cash on hand, and you have value in equity, things that you own. So you got to keep those perspectives when you're talking about an entrepreneurial mindset. Now comes the entrepreneurial side, okay? Will we get detailed steps on how to make ourselves a corporation?
Professor Gabb, I think we need a part 2 where you give us detailed steps.
Yeah. I would say, I,
Yes, Professor Gabb's going to share all the forms and we'll also be posting the videos. But yeah, no, definitely go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I would say take a class, right? And do that. You know, the through the business schools, they have classes on corporations and how to form them and do all of that type of stuff. And they have classes on taxation. So you're going to have lots of specialization, and that's where, you know, business comes into, right? That's understanding business. So you definitely want to learn and understand business. Uh, no matter what it is that you're doing, because everything that we do in the economy is around business. And then, so that brings me to, I think I did all of that. Okay, so now brings me to this. Um, so, how many of you guys have heard of Ashley Quails? Ashley Quails was a teenager, a high school student, and was back in, back in the year when MySpace was big, right? So this is where CGS 1060 comes into place, right? Um, was that a question? I see Desmond had a question. Yeah, right. So MySpace. Oh, he knows Ashley. Yeah, right. So Ashley Quall. So Ashley back then MySpace had um, the ability to make these skins, right? And so you could do it for free. Everybody knows how to do that. So this is again what I teach my 1060 students. Do you know how to make a web page, right? You can follow these things around, right? That's what we teach you, even in 1060. If you can use Microsoft Word, you can make a web page, okay? So, because all you have to do is you make the information, you say save as web page, right? So you know how to make a web page. And this is the important thing that I'm trying to bring up, right? Is that you already, just from this one course, you have the skills to do this. But what you need is the mindset. You need to see that perspective, what you can do with it, right? So Ashley, what she did was she made all these skins, and she made over $1 million as a teenager here. Notice, right? At age of 17, she obtained legal emancipation, giving her the same legal status as an adult, right? In 2006, she paid cash for her 250,000 home, right? So how did she do that? Well, how many of you guys know how Google works? How you make money with Google? Anybody knows? If you could type it in there, Google AdSense. Haha, there it is, right? Google AdSense. So again, this is the one thing, right? Again, is that knowledge, right? So Google, right? The way that they make money is through advertising, right? And so they want folks and they encourage folks to go out and create all this content so that they can sell ads to businesses, and they give you a fraction of that cost, right? So they give you a fraction. Does it cost? How much does it cost to get an AdSense account with Google? Does anyone know? How much does it cost to have a Google AdSense account? Free. That's absolutely correct. It's free. No money, right? So again, now, so Google also does what is called, they allow you to create your own websites. They have the stuff set up. They also allow you to create your own blogs, right? Some of you guys might already have that, correct? So you don't really need to have anything. You don't need to own anything. The only thing you need is the information, right? This is where they say knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. So with just this information, you could go to Google, get an AdSense account, create your blog, add the AdSense account on in there. Google will then put the ads on your page, on your blog, and then when people go and visit those, they'll see it, they click on it, and you then earn, 0.01% of that click. Now, that's 100th of a cent, okay? That's even less than the 1 cent that you picked up, okay? But you picked up that 1 cent, right? Now you know to pick up that 1 cent. Well, guess what? Google is throwing a whole lot of 1 cents on the ground. Are you going to pick them up? And how do you pick up those 1 cents or those portion of a cent? And so they do it through the AdSense. And so, um, you know, people do this. So Ashley did this. So she created her website and she made just thousands and thousands of these skins with the instructions that MySpace had. And then she made them available for free and she added Google AdSense on her site. And in 1 year, she brought in over $1 million just from people going and getting them. Now, she made some really, if you remember the story, she made some really whacked out stuff, some really, you know, all sides of psychedelic stuff that would probably give you headaches, things that we as here at the college, when you go into a design course, a graphical design course and a web design course, we say, don't do this, right? It's terrible design. And she went and she did it, right? Horrible stuff. And she also had good stuff, right? But because she had so many, and she reached a lot of different people with lots of different tastes and desires, and so she had millions of users coming to start using those things that she generated, and she became a millionaire just doing that, right? But that was without any capital. So here she started her own business without capital, right? So you will always hear in business and business school, they're talking about the biggest problem for small businesses is that you know, lack of capital, right? And so lack of capital. Well, do you need to own a computer to do this business? Okay, so you don't need a computer to do it, right? You do not need a computer. And so just to show you guys a couple of things, I just went in to ChatGPT and I said, provide an overview of monetizing Google content. And there it gives you how you can go about doing that, right? I did also, what's another type of business that you can do in the economy without needing and owning stuff? Drop shipping, right? These are one of those things, right? And so I asked, provide an overview of drop shipment as a small business, right? And I did, okay? Provide a list of 5 people who made millions using only freely available technology. And I have misspelled there, but there she goes, right? It's not actually quails, it's actually quail or qual. And so they give you those examples. So there you go, you get those examples and you can explore. And the best thing that you can do is you find people that did this. You look at what they did and you copy it, you replicate it, right? Um, and for example, one small business here, right? Google Maps. Here we are, Miami-Dade College, right here. This is 27. If you're scrolling on 27, right, you'll see, oh, okay, we have a lot of businesses along this line. Here's this one, 7 Stars Bear Depot, right? There it is. It has an entry for it. Now, if you drive along 27 coming up from State Road 9 up to 119, you will see the number of businesses that are there. How many of them have their information here? Very few, right? When you put in that information for a business and people search, if you search for that business and you're on there on Google Map, you're more likely to come on up and find that. So guess what? As a business, you can, without any type of investment, no capital, you can start, if you know how to go to this Google Map and enter that business information for those companies, you go to those companies and say, hey, I can increase your Google, your web traffic and finding you simply by doing these things for you. You can make a business of going through and putting all of these businesses online, right? So these are just things, small little things. And I know it's time to wrap it up, but I just wanted to drop those in there for you guys. I hope this was enjoyable and informational, and I hope that you can use all of this.
Thank you, Professor Gabb. No, I mean, absolutely. I think everything, I mean, I don't even think, I know that everything that you shared is extremely valuable. And definitely, I'm excited for all of us to get our hands on it and just kind of start playing around with it. And it's just a lot, you know, to wrap our minds around. And I think they really are gems. I saw some people writing in the chat, like, these are gems and things like that. And I do agree. A lot of the time, we don't really just have access, I guess, to a lot of these informations, or even if the information is there and we do have the access, but there's also an added layer of mindset that's in there. So this is very much appreciated. We already have some people requesting you for a follow-up. So I guess definitely I'll be reaching out to you and bothering you about that one. I'm excited for it. So I do very much appreciate Professor Gabb, and it was a wonderful session. So we do have our holistic breakout rooms. Are you able to stick around till 1:30 for students to go in who have any questions with you?
Sure. Yes, no problem.
Okay, appreciate you. So I do have the breakout rooms already started. Maya Butler from the Last Mile Foundation is here with us, as I mentioned to you guys in the beginning of the social hour session. So she is going to have her own breakout room. She's going to go in with you guys. I am perfectly fine. The session does end at 1:30, but anyone who needs more time, just let me know. I'm perfectly fine with just staying, keeping the session open for a little bit longer just to facilitate helping as many of you as possible. Last thing I did share in the chat, our next upcoming social hour for April 2nd. There's no details on it, which I did mention earlier. It's just the Luma, all the details, flyers, marketing assets, all that stuff is coming soon. But I do recommend you at least start registering for the event from now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the rooms. You'll see them pop up on your screen. We have our data analytics and business intelligence advisor here. We have our Apple Swift program. We do have a partnership with Apple. If you guys don't know about it, hop in the room and find out. We also have our Women in Tech, and Dr. Stephanie Best. She also does general advising. She's amazing at it. So I highly recommend you guys hop in the rooms. I do want to recommend hop in if you have not already spoken with Maya, hop in Maya's room first and find out as much information as you can about this scholarship because we are in competition, guys. MDC is number 2, and we're trying to become number 1. All right, so
Guys are
definitely hop in.
students away from being number one now.
What are we? Sorry.
They're 11 students away from being the number.
Wow. Okay, come on. There's 58 of you guys in this room, or 50 something in this room. Let's make this happen.
I just looked at the stats. It's 421 to 411 right now. Or actually
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, so let's make MDC win. So definitely, I just opened up the rooms, guys. Please do take this moment to hop in the rooms. All right, thank you. And if you need to get moved into the rooms, just ask me, and I'll help move you guys into the rooms.